All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, glad to be back.
This time, we're going to be exploring the life and teachings of Gautama Buddha.
Very cool.
We're going to be drawing from excerpts from Kutado Vasojakno Kodakfat Gautama,
Yeah.
which is a primary source that really dives into his journey. And we're going to try and uncover some captivating details about the path to enlightenment.
It's amazing these stories still feel so relevant today. It's remarkable.
Yeah, and the path to becoming a Buddha was anything but easy.
Oh,
It spanned lifetimes and demanded incredible dedication.
the source really emphasizes that.
Yeah.
Becoming a Buddha, this is not a quick fix.
Right.
This is about cultivating qualities over immense periods of time, even across multiple lives.
That brings up the idea of Bodhisattva, which the source mentions, this auspicious world cycle. And it says that Gautama Buddha was the fourth of 5 Buddhas in this particular cycle.
Right.
What's the significance of that?
Well, it suggests that the appearance of a Buddha isn't random. They're part of a larger cosmic pattern.
Interesting.
And, get this. There's a story about this hermit named Sumedha. And he encounters a previous Buddha, Dipankara, and he was so inspired by him that he vowed to become a Buddha himself. And Dipankara saw his potential, and he prophesies that Sumedha would in fact become the Buddha we know as Gautama.
So Gautama's journey was like set in motion ages ago.
Exactly. It underscores that this is not a spontaneous thing.
Right.
It's cultivated over countless lifetimes.
Right.
And that path involves mastering 10 paramitas.
10.
These are like virtues or perfections.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a pretty extensive to-do list. Can you give us a glimpse into what some of these paramitas are about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's Sakka parami, which is all about truthfulness.
Okay.
Think about how relevant that is in our world today.
Right, yeah.
With misinformation running rampant.
For sure.
And then there's metta parami, which focuses on all-embracing love or kindness.
Yeah.
The kind of compassion that's really sorely needed in our increasingly polarized world.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget Upekkha parami, which emphasizes equanimity, the ability to stay balanced and peaceful amidst all the chaos.
So it's amazing how these virtues still hit home in such a powerful way.
Right.
It's not just some dusty old concept, it's still something we face today.
Exactly. Precisely. And speaking of challenges, we can't overlook the story of King Vesantara.
Yeah.
Who's considered the ultimate giver.
Oh, wow.
This guy gave away everything, his possessions, his family, his kingdom, as part of his preparation for Buddhahood.
Oh, wow. That's commitment.
Talk about commitment.
It makes you wonder what drove him to such extremes. Was it just about getting rid of attachments?
It was more about cultivating this selfless generosity and recognizing that true happiness doesn't come from material possessions.
Right.
It's about recognizing this interconnectedness of all beings.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly dedicated hermit, Sumedha, on the path to becoming a Buddha.
Right.
But then he's born as a prince.
I know, it's quite the plot twist.
That is, so the source takes us to 624 BC.
Yes.
To the Sakya kingdom, where Gautama's birth was anything but ordinary.
Yeah, for sure.
So give us the scoop. What happened? Was there some, magical beam of light or...
Okay, picture this. Cosmic upheaval, like strange illuminations across the solar system, celestial music filling the air, spontaneous healings. It was like the world went haywire with joy.
Wow, so it sounds straight out of a myth. I can only imagine what it must have been like to witness that.
Right, it must have been pretty awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
And there's this fascinating anecdote about this hermit named Kaladevala.
Okay.
And this guy had mastered these supernormal powers, allowing him to, perceive the significance of events.
So he looked at baby Gautama and was like, yep, future Buddha right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But here's the bittersweet part.
Okay.
Kaladevala also realized that he wouldn't actually live long enough to witness Gautama's teachings.
Oh, that is bittersweet. To recognize the significance, but know you won't be around to see it unfold.
Yeah, it speaks to the impermanence of life, even for those with extraordinary abilities.
Right. So we've got prophecies, cosmic chaos, but what about the baby himself?
Right.
What was his childhood like?
So on the 5th day, amidst all this drama, he was officially named Siddhartha.
Okay.
During this huge ceremony.
Yeah.
And all these renowned astrologers were there.
Oh, wow.
And they agreed that he was destined for greatness.
Okay.
Either as a mighty king or a spiritual leader. But, tragedy struck just a week later when his mother, Queen Mahamaya, passed away.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize realize that.
Yeah,
So it sounds like the future Buddha thing was pretty much accepted from the start, but his early life wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
definitely not. His aunt Pajapati Gautami stepped in to raise him. And as Siddhartha grew, his father, King Suddhodana, became incredibly protective, determined to shield him from suffering. He basically created this bubble of luxury and pleasure, almost like a gilded cage.
Why was the king so intent on shielding him?
Remember those astrologers? They predicted that Siddhartha could become a great ruler or a Buddha.
Right.
And the king desperately wanted him to choose the throne, to follow in his footsteps.
Okay.
So he went to extreme lengths to hide anything unpleasant, old age, sickness, death, anything that might push Siddhartha towards a spiritual path.
It sounds like he was trying to control destiny itself.
Right.
But how long could he really keep Siddhartha sheltered from the realities of the world?
Yeah. Well, eventually, Siddhartha persuaded his father to let him venture outside the palace walls.
Yeah.
And he took these chariot rides into the city.
Oh.
And that's when everything changed.
I bet it's like stepping out of this virtual reality and suddenly encountering the real world. So what did he see? What shook him so deeply?
The source describes Siddhartha encountering what are known as the four sights.
Okay.
So first, he saw this frail old man,
Okay.
like his body just ravaged by time.
Wow, talk about a reality check. He'd never even seen anyone age before.
Right. And then he saw a sick person,
Okay.
suffering, weak.
Imagine being exposed to that side of life you never knew existed.
Exactly, yeah. And it didn't stop there.
Oh, no.
The third sight was even more jarring, a lifeless corpse being carried away.
Okay, that's heavy. What do you think went through his mind seeing death for the first time?
It must have been a profound shock.
Yeah,
Made him question everything he thought he knew about life.
right.
But then, amidst all this pain and suffering, Siddhartha encounters a fourth sight, a wandering ascetic, a monk.
Interesting. What impact did that have on him?
Well, the monk represented this path of renunciation,
Okay.
a way to transcend the suffering he just witnessed.
Right.
It kind of planted this seed of possibility in Siddhartha's mind.
So seeing these, like, harsh realities of life, but also this potential for spiritual liberation, it must have been a powerful combination.
It was a turning point, yeah. The source tells us that on the very night his son was born,
Oh, wow.
Siddhartha made the decision to leave everything behind.
Wait, he left on the night his son was born?
Yeah,
That's intense.
it is.
What does that tell us about him?
It speaks volumes about his determination.
Yeah.
He understood, the allure of family and comfort and all that, but he was driven by this even deeper yearning for truth and liberation.
That's a huge life-altering choice to make.
It is.
So he just rode off into the sunset and instantly became a monk.
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
He secretly left the palace with the help of his attendant, Channa,
Okay.
and his horse, Kanthaka,
Uh-huh.
and they journeyed to this river, the Anoma River, and that's where Siddhartha shed his princely attire, cut off his hair, and really embraced the life of an ascetic.
Okay, so he really committed
Yeah.
to this new path.
Yes.
Did he immediately achieve enlightenment?
Not at all. This was just the beginning of a very long and arduous journey.
Okay.
He traveled to Magadha, which is a region known for its spiritual teachings,
Right.
and he sought guidance from various teachers.
So it was like an ancient spiritual boot camp.
Right. Trying out different teachings, different mentors.
Hmm.
Exactly. So he studied with renowned teachers like Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputta,
Okay.
and they introduced him to practices like jhana, these deep meditative states.
Okay.
But their teachings ultimately didn't fully satisfy Siddhartha.
Why not? Were their methods flawed?
Well, their teaching still revolved around this concept of the Atman, the soul,
Okay.
and karma, actions, and their consequences.
Yeah.
But Siddhartha, he was searching for something that went beyond the self, something that transcended this cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
So he wasn't just looking for a way to, like, navigate the system better, but he was looking for a way out of the whole system.
Exactly. He wanted to understand the root of suffering and how to completely break free from it.
Okay, so if meditation and these philosophical discussions weren't enough,
Right.
what else could he try?
Well, the next chapter of Siddhartha's journey took him down this path of extreme asceticism.
Okay.
We're talking 6 years of intense fasting, meditation, pushing his body to the absolute limit.
6 years. That sounds grueling.
Yeah.
What would drive someone to such extremes?
He was driven by this belief that punishing the body would somehow purify the mind
Okay.
and lead to enlightenment.
Okay.
And, this idea of self-denial as a way to achieve spiritual insight is something you see across different cultures.
Right. It's fascinating how that idea keeps popping up throughout history.
Yeah, it is. But for Siddhartha, this extreme approach, it nearly cost him his life.
Oh, wow.
He became so weak that he collapsed and almost died.
So what pulled him back from the brink? Did he have some sort of epiphany?
The source describes this pivotal moment where a woman named Sujata offered him a bowl of kheera,
Okay.
which is a kind of milk porridge.
So like a single act of kindness changed the course of his journey.
Well, it was more than just kindness.
Okay.
Sujata's offering represents the importance of nourishment
Yeah.
and balance.
Okay.
She saw this emaciated ascetic
Mm-hmm.
and instinctively understood that he needed sustenance, not more deprivation.
That's a beautiful image and a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound insights come from these simple acts of care.
It really is. And it's significant that this was Siddhartha's last meal before achieving enlightenment.
Oh, wow.
It highlights this Buddhist principle of finding the middle path, a balance between indulgence and austerity.
So, nourished and ready, Siddhartha marched right back to that Bodhi tree and had his big enlightenment moment.
Oh, not quite.
Okay.
The source describes a series of 5 incredibly vivid dreams that Siddhartha experienced just before his enlightenment.
5 prophetic dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give us the highlights.
So in the first dream, he saw his body expanding, like to cover vast lands,
Wow.
symbolizing the future spread of his teachings. In another dream, this plant sprouted from his navel and reached the heavens,
Okay.
representing its ability to teach not only humans, but also gods.
So these dreams were essentially foreshadowing the impact he would have on the world.
Absolutely. One dream showed countless people in white,
Okay.
representing the many disciples who would follow him from all walks of life.
Mm.
Another had colorful birds transforming into white,
Wow.
signifying the unity and transcendence of social divisions through his teachings.
I'm starting to see why stories about Buddha are often depicted so visually.
Right.
These images are so powerful and symbolic.
Yeah, and there's one more dream, perhaps the most symbolic of all.
Okay.
Siddhartha saw himself walking on excrement
Why?
without being soiled, representing his ability to remain pure amidst the impurities of the world.
That's a powerful image. It kind of reminds me of that saying, bloom where you are planted.
Right.
Maintaining that inner purity despite the challenges and the negativity surrounding us. It's a timeless struggle.
Exactly. These dreams offer this glimpse into the profound insights that were brewing within Siddhartha's mind, preparing him for the ultimate breakthrough.
Okay, so after these vivid, symbolic dreams, he finally sits down under that Bodhi tree,
Yeah.
ready to face his destiny.
Right. The source describes this moment with this sense of mounting anticipation.
Yeah.
He sits beneath the tree with this unwavering determination, vowing not to move until he achieves enlightenment, even if it costs him his life.
Talk about high stakes. What was it like for him in those moments?
It was the final showdown in his internal struggle for truth.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't alone in this battle.
Mm.
The source tells us that Mara, the embodiment of temptation and negativity, appeared before him,
Oh, wow.
trying to derail him from his path.
So it was like this cosmic battle between good and evil playing out within Siddhartha's mind.
It was this intense internal struggle, a test of his will and clarity. And Mara used every trick imaginable, fear, doubt, desire, to try and shake his resolve.
I guess that speaks to the challenges we all face on that path to spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
These internal and external forces that try to hold us back from realizing our true potential.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding challenges.
Right.
It's about learning to face them with wisdom and compassion.
So how did Siddhartha overcome Mara's temptations? Did he just willpower his way through it?
He drew upon the strength he'd cultivated through lifetimes of practice.
Okay.
Those 10 paramitas we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
He remained steadfast in his pursuit of truth and ultimately broke free from Mara's grasp.
Okay, so what actually happened when he achieved enlightenment? Was there a bolt of lightning, a booming voice from the heavens? What was the aha moment?
The source describes it as this process of profound insight, of seeing reality as it truly is.
Okay.
One of his key realizations was the nature of matter itself. He perceived everything, including his own body, as being composed of these tiny, constantly changing particles called kalapas.
Kalapa, so like everything is in constant flux.
Precisely, yeah. And this realization helped him understand these three fundamental truths of existence. Anicca, the impermanence of all things. Dukkha, the suffering that arises from clinging to impermanence. And anatta, the illusion of a separate self.
So he essentially like deconstructed his entire perception of reality.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He saw through this illusion of solidity
Yeah.
and permanence.
Right.
And recognized the interconnectedness and this constant change of all things.
That must have been a mind-blowing experience.
It was.
So that's it. He had these profound insights and boom, he's enlightened.
It was the culmination of his entire journey, a complete transformation of his understanding. At that moment, Siddhartha became the Buddha, the awakened one.
So what did he do next? Did he like shout about Kalapis from the rooftops?
Not exactly,
Hmm.
but he did feel this overwhelming sense of compassion for all beings trapped in this cycle of suffering.
Right.
And he knew he had to share this newfound wisdom.
So he became like this teacher showing people how to live in the moment and let go of attachment.
Well, he was more than just a teacher.
Okay.
He was this revolutionary thinker
Okay.
who challenged existing social norms and religious practices.
Wow.
He offered this path to liberation, accessible to everyone, regardless of their caste or social standing.
What was so revolutionary about his approach?
Well, think about the context. He was born into this world steeped in tradition,
Yeah.
where social hierarchy and rituals were everything. Buddha challenged the caste system.
Oh, wow.
He questioned animal sacrifices, and he rejected this idea of a permanent soul.
Right.
His teachings were all about looking inward
Yeah.
and cultivating wisdom and compassion, regardless of your social standing.
No wonder he ruffled some feathers.
Right.
So where did he start?
His first teachings were given to his 5 former companions at the deer park in Saranath.
Okay.
That was the beginning of Buddhism as we know it.
From a sheltered prince to an enlightened teacher.
It is, yeah.
It's an incredible transformation. But I imagine his journey was far from over.
Yeah, it really is. It's a pretty incredible transformation. But you're right, his journey wasn't over. So Buddha starts sharing these teachings, right?
Right.
What he calls the Dhamma.
Okay.
Did things just take off from there? Was everyone instantly on board with this radical new way of thinking?
I mean, probably not, right? Change is rarely welcomed with open arms, especially when it challenges like deeply held beliefs and stuff.
Yeah, the source mentions that Buddha faced plenty of resistance.
Okay.
There were traditionalists clinging to the old rituals, and there were even attempts on his life.
Wow. So people really didn't like their worldview being challenged.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you think about how fear and resistance still pop up, even today.
Right.
When we encounter new ideas, even if those ideas could be beneficial.
It's true. I mean, think about it. He was challenging the caste system,
Right. Huge.
questioning animal sacrifices,
Yeah.
rejecting the idea of a permanent soul.
Yeah.
I mean, his teachings were so disruptive,
Oh, sure.
offering this completely different way of understanding reality and our place in it.
Yeah. But despite that pushback, his message still resonated with many, right?
Absolutely. People were drawn to this message of compassion and mindfulness and understanding this true nature of reality. And his community, known as the Sangha, it grew rapidly,
Right.
attracting people from all walks of life.
And that's what's so remarkable.
Yeah.
It started as this small group of followers and like spread throughout the world.
I know.
Why do you think that is?
It's a testament to the power and the universality of his teachings.
Yeah.
The principles of mindfulness, compassion, recognizing impermanence. These resonate across cultures and time periods.
Sure, for sure.
Plus, those who followed him were really committed to carrying that message forward. Figures like Sariputta and Moggallana became like key disciples, helping to spread the Dhamma far and wide.
Yeah.
And even powerful kings like King Bimbisara became patrons of the Sangha.
It's interesting how those in power who you'd think would be like most threatened by change
Right.
were often drawn to Buddha's teachings.
Yeah.
What do you think that says about like the human experience?
Perhaps they saw in Buddhism a way to alleviate suffering, not just for themselves, but for their entire kingdom.
Yeah.
The source highlights the generosity of many, like, wealthy merchants who donated monasteries and resources, enabling the Sangha to flourish.
Right.
Maybe they recognize the true power lies in wisdom and compassion, not control or material wealth.
So it wasn't just about individual enlightenment, but about creating this community dedicated to understanding and alleviating suffering.
Exactly. And, Buddha didn't shy away from these, like, difficult topics.
Okay.
He addressed the challenges of family life, the complexities of relationships, the inevitability of loss. He even offered guidance on how to deal with difficult people.
So his teachings weren't just about, like, escaping the world,
No.
but about learning how to live skillfully within it.
Exactly. He taught about cultivating patience, understanding, compassion, even in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
It was about engaging with the world in this mindful and compassionate way, not retreating from it.
But even Buddha, with all his wisdom and compassion, couldn't escape, the realities of life and death.
You're right. And the source takes us to Buddha's final days. He was 80 years old. His body was weakened,
Wow.
but his mind was still sharp. He continued to travel and teach, sharing his wisdom right up until his very last breath.
What were his final words?
As he lay dying, surrounded by his devoted followers, he spoke these poignant words. Decay is inherent in all compounded things. Work out your own salvation with diligence.
Wow. What a powerful message.
I know.
It's a reminder that impermanence touches everything and everyone,
Yeah.
even a Buddha. And, he wasn't offering a quick fix
No?
or a magical solution, but he emphasized this personal responsibility and the importance of actively engaging in our own spiritual growth.
It's a message that transcends time.
Yeah.
The principles of mindfulness, compassion, understanding impermanence are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago.
So after this incredible deep dive,
Into Buddha's life and teachings,
yeah,
what's the takeaway for us?
Yeah.
How can we apply these ancient principles to our modern lives?
that's the question, isn't it?
It is.
How can we cultivate mindfulness amidst all these distractions?
Right.
How can we practice compassion in a world that often feels so divided and hostile?
Yeah.
How can we embrace change and let go of clinging to what we think is permanent?
Big questions.
Huge questions.
But I think that's the beauty of these deep dives. We get to explore these profound ideas, ancient stories, and
Yes.
find ways to connect them to our own lives.
Right.
Discover new perspectives and insights.
Exactly. And remember, this is just a glimpse into this vast and rich tradition. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah, so much more. Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to ponder today. This has been a really insightful deep dive.
It has, and hopefully it sparked some curiosity to continue exploring.
Absolutely. So until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.